All right, everybody, welcome to Samurai Blitz. I do have a special guest today. He is one of the top 8 mayoral candidates in San Antonio, Texas. And as you know, this is going to be an important one for especially a lot of conservatives like myself. We have Clayton Perry here. Clayton Perry, you could go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you for showing up and taking the time to talk to the little people like myself, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, let me tell you, nobody's a little person. That does not exist in my books. In fact, everybody's the same, and that's the way I handled being on council when I was on council for 6 years. I serviced everybody. There was nobody that anybody could pick up the phone, give me a call, or send in whatever requests they had, and we would work on it to solve it. So. No, it's good to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did reach out to a couple more. You responded very quickly. I will say that. Also, I know one of our city council members, Suk. That's the district I'm in. Yeah, it's really hard to get a hold of her, and I'm hoping she gets voted out this term. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I did watch the mayoral debate, and I learned a crazy statistic today. 18% of the city votes. Is that correct?
Well, actually, that's when you have a like a major presidential election. When you have these off-cycle city elections, it's a lot less than that. In fact, you're probably talking anywhere from 10 to 12%. The larger percentage is for national votes, like for president. So and compounding that issue is that right on top of early voting, we got Fiesta going on. So Fiesta is already kicked off today. Actually, there's been some events over the weekend, but it's kicking off, and you got early voting is the same time as Fiesta, and voting day on May 3rd, you have the Flambeau Parade and King William Parade. So you got all of that stuff going on at the same time as early voting and election day. So we might not even hit the 10% mark. So that is very, very sad when it comes to elections here, because, local elections to me are the most important elections of all, because that directly impacts you and your pocketbook, whatever happens in the city.
Yes, for sure. I didn't know it was that low because I was watching the debate and they kept saying, "Well, this is the will of the people, the will of the people," and I'm thinking because I do vote in municipal elections, but I'm not gonna lie and pretend like I stay that much in tune because I kind of do stay in tune with senators, Congress people, and all that.
Yeah.
And I told myself like a couple of years ago, okay, I need to get more involved in
Well,
the
good.
and the municipal stuff. And
Good.
yeah, and then I look at our city council members. They're 9 out of 10 are not that they're Democrat, they're progressives, which is scary as hell to me. Um, and
Well, yeah. In fact, when I was on council, served 6 years, and there were a lot of 10-to-1 votes. I was the only conservative on council, and so I pushed back on a lot of different issues. And you got to have that voice on council, otherwise it's like an echo chamber. Everybody votes yes on everything. So I was that lone conservative vote. But on the other hand, I got a lot of stuff done while I was on council for 6 years. I got the very first ever homestead exemption passed here for San Antonio, and got 200 additional police officers, and I doubled the infrastructure budget for our streets. So you take those three things; those are three major, major things for San Antonio. I got a lot of stuff done here for District 10 up in the northeast part of town, my council district. But these are the things that applied citywide and helped out a lot of people here in town.
yeah, I did see. I know during the debate, I kept hearing the word equity, 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 and I was like, I'm not a fan of that word. I know what it means, and
Right.
and I just especially like when it comes to the school thing, I'm a former teacher, so all I heard was more and more funding, more and more funding, and I've been a big advocate. I'm hoping the DOE just dies, dies off, and McMahon gets herself out of a job like Trump said.
Yeah.
But what is your take on how to better the schools? Because I could tell you with experience, many years of teaching, what I see and what I've seen, and I don't think money is the issue. What's your take on that?
Well, if you go by I'll say progressive rules, and what they want to see is their
Oh,
answer to
buddy.
every issue. Their answer to every issue is we need more money. And you can look across any issue here in town, and the answer is always, well, we need more money. And that is not the answer. And of course, the school system is totally different than city politics because they have their own boards, they're their own taxing entity, and they have superintendents like their chief operating officer. So they are an entity to themselves, and the city really can't do anything to help fund anything with the school systems. And I went to many mayoral candidate forums, and a lot of the people up there on stage would always say, oh yeah, we can do more for the schools. Well, we can't. We're prohibited by law not to get involved in the school systems. Now, we do have, San Antonio does have our own school district, and that's pre-K for SA, and that was started under Julian Castro, where we're spending about $50 million a year, taxpayer dollars, for about 2,000 kids. So if you do the math on that, that's a lot of money per child compared to our public school system, which is about $9,500 per child. Here you're doing about 25,000 per child for this pre-K for SA program. And I can tell you that I voted against it when it came up for renewal several years ago. And the biggest reason is because the state is now providing that in our public school system. They are providing pre-K services to children that go to public school. So why are we having to operate our own school system on top of something else that we're already paying for through the school district? So that was one reason that I voted against the pre-K for SA, but it passed. The vast majority of people here in San Antonio wanted to keep doing it. So we have it, let's see, that's for an 8-year term. And I think we got another 6 years to go before that comes up for another vote.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I mean, like you said, only 10% of the people are voting in municipal elections. And they kept saying, well, this is the will of the people in San Antonio. It's like, well, you never talk to people like us, because I think we'd have something else to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I see that they always hold these little city council meetings like during the daytime, and it's like we work.
Oh yeah.
Are we supposed to attend these on a Tuesday at 12 o'clock?
Right. And that, I can tell you, when I become mayor, that's going to change. We're going to move that meeting around town to give people more of an opportunity to go and hold them in the evening times. The majority of people on city council, they have daytime jobs that they need to be taken care of, and this is like an extra job that they're having. In my case, I'm totally retired, so I have the time and ability to put towards this job 24 hours a day. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week when I was on council because I don't have a daytime job. I'm able to do that. So we're going to move it around and make it more accessible to people instead of just having it one day during the daytime, right in the middle of the day, where people really can't attend and can't take off work to attend. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that'd be great. I did have a question here. I was on the Republicans' men's on San Antonio. One person did say, "Are you gonna, if you were to be elected mayor, are you gonna have a heavy hand in persuading with liberal council people, like to kind of push them in a more direction that we are looking forward to with the conservative views?"
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say heavy hand because the mayor is only one vote on council. What the mayor can do is control the agenda. Putting an agenda together and deciding what really goes on that agenda. So that's really about the only control the mayor has, other than providing the leadership to the rest of the council. And that's what we've lacked for the last 8 years with Ron Nirenberg. He has zero leadership skills. And that was one reason that I was able to get those major items done here for the city of San Antonio based on my leadership skills in convincing others on council. Even though they were 180 out from my views, I was able to get their support pushing forward these things like the homestead exemption, the more police on the streets, and more money going to our street systems here. So it's all about leadership and how you can convince people to follow you in the direction that you want to go in. And I do have those leadership skills.
Yes, because I have seen and I talked to a couple sheriffs and people that are involved in police for enforcement, and a lot of the problems from what I see are stemming from radical leftist judges letting criminals go, not like basically putting roadblocks from letting them interact with ICE and other agencies like federal agencies like that.
Right.
Does the mayor have any kind of pull where he can change some of those things, or is that not in your wheelhouse?
Well, it's not. It's not really. We don't have anything to do with the judges or the district attorney as far as that goes. But I can tell you what the city can do. And as a mayor, I will put pressure on them based on the data. You know, if it's showing that we're re-releasing people after they've been arrested for particular serious crimes, that we have access to that data, and I will be their worst enemy as mayor here in making sure that they're following the letter of the law and that they're not releasing these criminals back out onto the streets before they've paid for their crimes. And that's an issue that we have here, and we've had for a number of years since Joe Gonzalez has been our district attorney here. So yes, I will put the pressure required on them because, number one, they're in politics. They're Republicans and Democrats. The city council is not. It's nonpartisan.
Yeah, nonpartisan.
But I can tell you that this mayor has never put pressure on the DA or the sheriff or anybody because they are of the same political persuasion, and he's not going to rock the boat.
I've heard a lot of stuff with that. Especially a couple of sheriffs have told me that definitely they have to do all these extra maneuvers just to even contact ICE on a criminal illegal in this city. And I think that's a big issue. I think a lot of people like myself want to see these people like deported when they're criminals, especially heinous criminals. I know you see the way that news media portrays everybody as just this innocent victim. It's like, no, these people are doing horrible crimes, and we already have enough criminals in our own, citizens. We don't need to keep importing more and more.
That's right. That's right. And I can tell you, I'm going to personally invite Tom Homan here to San Antonio to get rid of a lot of these folks out of this town. Because let me tell you that when the federal government was shipping those folks here to San Antonio, we processed 640,000 people through that MRC. And nobody can tell you how many actually stayed here in San Antonio versus got on a bus or got on an airplane to leave San Antonio. So we don't know. And I guarantee you've heard of Trenda Guaragua here in town. I guarantee you they're here. And the gang activity and the violent crimes that's picked up here in San Antonio is all due to that. And we're gonna put the pressure on that to take care of that and get rid of the illegal portion out of San Antonio.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest issues I have. And I know I was seeing in that debate, I forgot which one of your colleagues, or which one of the 8 that was there. And she was saying, well, when we were putting these people into San Pedro, because that's my district, that's where I live. I live like a couple minutes away. She goes, we're protecting the citizens and the migrants. And I'm like, what the hell are you smoking, lady? Because there's no way that is true in any sense or form. And the police that were there as security guards, they did absolutely nothing. I don't know how many times one time I was going to McDonald's had 2 security guards at one point. That's how bad it was.
It was very bad, very bad.
And they were out like till 1, 2 in the morning. You could see them walking around.
Sure.
There was no rules, so I don't know what she was talking about, but we're highly upset of that whole situation.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, let's put them in Stone Oak then, since they love to vote Democrat. Let's see how fast that gets thrown out.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And
that whole situation was a bad nightmare. I'm just glad that it's over with. It's been closed down, and we're not processing any more people through that center here.
That is good. So will you take us off of the sanctuary city policies? Is that
officially, and you can hear the police chief, you can hear the mayor say, we're not a sanctuary city. So, but let me tell you, we are.
Yeah.
We are. And it's plain to anybody that's looking as to what this city has done, ever since all the illegals have passed through here. But it's a shame that we continued that operation for that many years. That MRC was only supposed to be an emergency thing because the federal government was basically busing in thousands of people and just dumping them downtown. And this MRC was saying, all right, let's get them all together and hold them there until they get a airplane out of town. But nobody knew that this was going to continue for years. This was only supposed to last until the federal government got control of the border. Who knew that the Biden administration wanted to perpetuate this and not close the border and let them come across? So San Antonio got in a bad situation here with that MRC in accommodating what the federal government was saying. I wrote a letter to the president when I was on council saying, hey, stop this. This is madness. We got to stop that flow of illegals coming through San Antonio. Please. And I sent a copy to every legislator that we have here in Texas. And guess how many responses I got? A big fat zero.
I figured.
But again, and I called for the closure of the MRC many times. But again, the mayor was not going to do anything to rock the boat because if you remember, he was lobbying to get a job in the Biden administration on the reelection campaign. And then when that fell through, he was trying to do the same thing for Kamala Harris on getting on her bandwagon and speaking at the different tours that they had going on. And so he wasn't even here in town for months. He was out on the campaign trail. So he was not going to shut down the MRC and create any issues for the federal government during that time. And that's the reason that thing stayed open for that long.
Yeah, and they are here, Tren de Aragua. I can't even say it right now. But they are here. Yeah, they raided, I don't know if you saw, well, I'm sure you saw, they ended up raiding an apartment complex here, just like they did in Colorado. Yeah, and it's bad. I know I was teaching with some of those times, and the schools were overwhelmed. You know, you got people coming in from all over the
Absolutely.
world.
It's not just the schools, but think about it. Schools, our police system, our hospitals, just go on and on and on, how everything has been affected and driving up costs for everything because basically they were getting everything for free. And it was, like I said, just a bad situation. Nobody expected this to go on for as long as it did. It was only supposed to happen until, like I said, until the federal government got a control of the border and shut it down. Of course, as you know, they never did. And
if I'm correct, I remember that story where BLM protested at your house. Is that right?
Oh yeah. That was we were. This was after the
George
Floyd incident where they were protesting during a city council meeting. And one of the protesters came up right in front of the city council and said, y'all should all get on your knee and raise your fist in recognition of Black Lives Matter. And everybody except me got down on a knee and held up a fist. And I don't do that for anybody. There's only one that I will get on my knee for, and that's my God. And I am not going to do that. So I didn't. And so I sat there and just watched that whole thing play out. And they got really upset about that because Clayton Perry did not get down on a knee and raise his fist. And again, I was not going to do that. And so they came and protested at my house a couple of days after that.
Yeah. And I do want to say I commend that. That's awesome that you didn't do that. I would have lost a lot of respect for anybody. I lose respect for anybody that bends the knee to BLM. I just think it's silly and they're just, I mean, that's true fascism, right? I mean, just ruling with force. And if you don't do what we say, we're going to just, harass you.
They came and protested in my neighborhood right in front of my house, and there's kids outside playing, and the vulgar language and the signs that they were both saying and displaying was not good for a neighborhood atmosphere here, and people really got upset about it. And there wasn't anything I could do about it. The police were present here, and they were ready to respond if anything happened. But it was a really, really big nuisance here in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's just harassing.
Yeah.
Till you give in, and I'm glad
Right.
you didn't give in. That's what cowards do, and I'm glad you didn't do that. Yeah, those people they're just, I mean, look at everything they've done. Billions of dollars in damages. I mean,
Yeah.
people deaths, and then they talk about, all they can bring up is January 6th for anybody on the other side of the aisle.
Sure.
That's their favorite go-to line. So I did have another question about the whole. I did not know this until the debate. Now they had a travel fund for abortions at $100,000. Is that correct?
Yes, they passed that at city council 6-5. If I would have been mayor, I would have said no, and it wouldn't have passed. But this mayor voted for it and passed that ordinance. So they've set aside about $100,000 for women that want to get an abortion. They will pay for their travel and living experiences while they're out of state. And basically what this was to get around state law that prohibits it, right? And I said, if y'all pass this thing, the state is just going to turn around and sue San Antonio right away. And of course they did. And now we got a lawsuit pending against us, and we'll lose, but we're going to spend well in excess of $1 million defending this ordinance that they put together. So there's another $1 million of our tax dollars down the drain when, everybody knows we're going to lose, and it's all going to be for naught.
And where were they where were they transporting them to?
Well, it would be wherever they want to go to get an abortion.
Oh, so they get a free vacay.
Yeah. I call it an abortion. I call it an abortion vacation.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an abortion vacation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come stay in California or Colorado. Enjoy the
right.
for your irresponsible behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand there's I know the argument on it, but it's like, yeah, I don't think taxpayers. I think if taxpayers knew, like I said, I'm very in tune with the politics and stuff, and I did not know that, and I was very like, what? We had a whole bill passed that you got $100,000. So that is definitely that's with the city council members, right? But you said you would have a final vote.
Yep. If I would have been mayor, I would have voted against it, and it would have lost 6-5 instead of passing 6-5.
And we also got other lawsuits with that facility, right? Well, I know we enriched a lot of NGOs, but that's about it. But there also, is that correct? There's also a lawsuit with that facility being run.
Well, there was a lawsuit. I don't know if it's continuing now that it is shut down. That was the intent of the lawsuit, was to shut it down. But now that it's shut down, I'm not sure if that lawsuit is continuing or not.
Okay, gotcha. And you did talk about the debt we have here quite a bit during the thing. I really liked your answers. What is the current, what's the current situation with our debt right now?
Well, with all the bonding and everything that the city has passed, and not only the city, but remember, and let me talk a little bit about bonding. I had a lady come up to me saying, Clayton, why are you so against bonds? Isn't that free money? Isn't that just free money that is given to us? And I said, Nothing's money? Free. Man, nothing is free in this life. We got to pay that back plus interest. It's like getting a house loan. You buy a house, you take a loan, and then you pay that loan off over time, plus the interest that the bank is charging you. And that lady didn't have a clue that that's really what it was. And so I just want to emphasize that's what's happening here in San Antonio. We've had a number of bond issues, and not just the city, because remember, the city is within the county, We got the Alamo Community Colleges District. We got the hospital district, all of these different districts and school districts also. School takes half of our property tax dollar. And the rest of those taxing entities takes the rest of that other half. The city is only about 20%. But anyway, if you take up all the bonding activities that's gone on, we're sitting at around $20 billion. The city of San Antonio, $20 billion of debt that we owe. And I always like to say, the city likes to say, oh, we're the 7th largest city in the United States, but oh, by the way, we're the poorest large city in the United States. And my thing is, well, quit putting debt on top of us. Stop. Let's pay off some of that debt. Let's get out of debt before we go on with additional bonds or shiny things out there that they want to spend our money on. So, I have no idea how we're going to get that debt paid for, other than tightening our belts, stop spending money on all these shiny things. And there's a shiny thing coming up, and you probably know what I'm talking about, Project Marvel. That's another $5 to $7 billion that they want to spend and go into debt. So, we have to stop this spending spree that we've been on for many years here in San Antonio. And where has it gotten us? We're still in the same amount of poverty that we've been in since for 50 years. We got 18% the 18% poverty rate. It hasn't moved the needle one bit in going into all this debt. So my question is, why are we continuing to dig ourselves a deeper hole with all this other stuff going on? And it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. And I like to deal with people with common sense, and a lot of this stuff is not making any common sense.
Well, yeah, a lot of leftist issues are not making. I mean, that's why even Trump said, like, we're the party of common sense, and I totally agree with that. There's so many things going on with, everything from just abortion to 9 months to biological men and women's sports to the restroom situation. It's just all just silliness to me. I do hear that, like, you were talking about all these bonds. That's crazy that they didn't even know that you had to pay them back with interest.
Yeah.
And also all this money going to the schools, and these kids can't even read at grade level. They don't know what's going on. The things with the schools that I see is like, well, we can't do this because the school to prison pipeline, and that's their go-to, right? They love to say that. But it's like, so we're just going to enable this criminal behavior in the schools because everybody's afraid of the kids now. And it's like, that's not how you run a school.
Talking about that bonding situation, people probably don't realize it, but there's a huge, big bond on this next election. It's for the ACCD, Alamo Community Colleges District.
I wanted to talk about that too. Yeah.
They're asking for another $1 billion, 960 something million, right at $1 billion that they're asking for another bond. And it's very, very, there's no specifics on it at all. I suspect it's for construction and building facilities, but there's nothing. It just says we're gonna do work at this campus. They got about 6 different campuses that they're doing work, but doesn't say what they're using the money for. No specifics at all. So to me, we're writing $1 billion blank check, and nobody's calling them out on it. Nobody's saying, "Hey, what's this all about? What's all this money that you're trying to spend?" And unfortunately, this city passes everything that's put in front of them. So I wouldn't doubt that this passes, and that's another $1 billion that's going to go on our debt.
I would say too, it is a lot of like really vague wording, because I know when I vote in municipal stuff, sometimes I'm like, what does this even mean? Like, I don't even know. I have to like really do research before, because it'll just say like, recently they just gave themselves a raise. And I was like, great. And I voted no. And I think a lot of people voted no. And they still gave themselves a raise. And definitely a $1 billion blank check is insanity. And I don't know why they would even vote for that, because now they're giving it, that has to do with the free college as well, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and everybody that goes to ACCD, it's free. You know, they don't have to put any skin in the game, and that's what I don't. Man, I tell you what, I worked 2 jobs, and plus got a scholarship to work my way through college, and now it seems like everything there is out there, it's just free. There's no skin in the game by people that are going to these schools, and I think that's a mistake. I just think that's a mistake.
Yeah, I used to teach 11th grade, so even 12th graders. A lot of them are just not prepared because, like, we have the no kid can fail policy in schools
Yeah,
now, and
right.
and I'm like, they're telling me, oh, well, I'm gonna go to college, and I'm like, okay, how are you gonna do that if you like? I give you a paragraph to read and you complain for an hour instead of
Yeah.
just doing it, and I'm like, that's insane to me. Like, you're gonna drown when you get there, and that's why I also want to know: are they? Is it free even if they fail, or is there a policy on that? Like, they fail, they don't get free. No, so it's
No.
just like free reign.
Yeah.
Oh my
They
God.
don't.
I did not know that.
They can go for 2 or 3 semesters and drop out. And they're not held responsible for anything.
So we're just getting more and more,
In debt.
yeah, more and more in debt to a bunch of people that don't even care, like,
Right.
that are not even utilizing it the right way.
Right.
That's
Correct.
insane. So you're gonna really put pressure to kind of get those off of the books. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I am. Everybody that will listen to me about this next bond, I'm saying vote no. And if you, here's a good example. They have a campus right on Broadway Street, right downtown,
Yeah.
close to the Duceum over there. And if you walk onto that campus, you could swear you'd be in like Dubai or Qatar or something like that. The design of these buildings, they're like Taj Mahals. And here we go. We're paying top dollar for facilities, and what are we getting back for that?
Yeah, and I'm sure the teachers and all that are gonna be throwing out their propaganda to make it seem like it's the
Oh
best
yeah,
thing that we need to do because
oh yeah,
people just always assume too. You go to college, you get yourself out of poverty, but I mean, as we've seen lately, a lot of these kids are going to college, getting these useless degrees and doing nothing with it, and
no.
just coming out of at 22 years old, coming into like $100,000 of debt. Talking about they're overqualified for certain jobs and underqualified for the rest.
Tell
Uh,
you what, plumbers and
yeah,
HVAC people and welders, they're making some really good money out there right now. There's a shortage of them, so they're paying them top dollar to get them on board.
mm, yeah, definitely. But I did not know what is that. What is that bill? How do they word it? That one to fund the ACCD.
Well, they just say it's about $1 billion, and it just lists the campuses
Oh,
that
okay.
this is gonna affect. It doesn't say what they're going to do at all in any of these campuses. So, to me, again, it's like writing a blank check. Just give them $1 billion, and they'll spend it the right way.
Yeah, we all learned that lesson many times, huh? But they always end up saying they're gonna spend it the right way. But the one of the things I did want to talk about, I know y'all were discussing the city manager now does not have to have any approval, right? They could kind of just free reign approve whatever they want. And speaking of the project Marvel, you did say you were against it, right?
Yes. Well, what I said was I'm against using taxpayer money. If they want to do this by investing, private investment and what have you to build this thing, absolutely go for it. I got a problem with, how they went about this whole thing because there's a lot of upset people in the surrounding neighborhoods and where the current stadium is, Frost Center. There's people upset all over the place because they did this all in a backroom deal, and the first thing anybody saw about it was some pretty pictures that hit the papers. What was it, in November or December? And
Yeah.
they were wanting to put it in this May election right away. And my goodness gracious, there was no answers about anything. People said, "Wait, what's going on here? How are we going to pay for it?" None of that stuff was fleshed out or ready for the public. And to this date, they still haven't told us how they're planning on paying for this thing.
Yeah, I wanted to, because the majority of people are against it, and one of my colleagues wanted to have that. Like, are the will of the people going to be respected with that? Because it seems like they're just going to go forward with it. Um, how do we fight against that if, especially the majority, do not want it?
Well, if they don't have to have public funds, they could fund it with private investment and what have you, and they can move on with that. But if they're going to have public funds to do any of this, they're going to have to take it to a vote to the people for a vote, yes or no, on spending public dollars on it. And I suspect they probably will have to, because that's a huge chunk of money that they don't have laying around, or any of these special taxing districts don't have that kind of money laying around. So they're probably going to have to come to the city saying, hey, will you approve a tax hike on this? And let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of money put into a campaign to get it passed. A lot of money will go out there for that. Signs all over town, and radio and TV commercials and what have you. I bet you they'll spend well over several $1 million to get this thing passed.
No, they're definitely going to spend a lot of money for sure.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, and that's just going to come down on us eventually. And then,
Oh yeah.
even at that, I mean, the parking's outrageous at the AT&T Center as it is. I could imagine what's going to be over there.
Yeah, and where are they going to park? Well, that's where the people in King William are really upset with this, because they know people are going to be parking in the King William residential areas and then walking to Hemisphere Park.
Yeah, that's going to be a mess. As it is, King Williams is already overcrowded with just Fridays and all that other stuff.
Absolutely, and not only that, but getting in and out of that area, before a game or before a concert, and after a game and after a concert, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, I mean, you could just look to where we're talking about Fiesta earlier. You could look to Fiesta. Look how terrible it is to get in and out of there.
Yeah,
I-35 is going to be so backed up. I really don't see. Yeah, where are they saying their people are going to park? Like, where are they? What's their argument with that?
That there's nothing being shown on that yet.
Okay. That'll come later after we spend the money.
Yeah, right. After you approve it, let's find out what it says.
One of those.
We've heard that before from a certain legislator up there in DC. Approve it first, and then we'll let you know what's in it.
Yeah, you got to approve it, then you could read it. I mean, that's common sense. Don't knock the process.
Right.
Which has to be one of the stupidest things I've ever heard, man.
Yeah, me too.
There's so many stupid things out there, but that tops it off. I did also have a question from I'm sure you're aware of this Republican men of San Antonio.
Yes.
Yeah. One of them did have a question and said, how will you help small businesses in and around 1604 construction?
Yeah, well, right now, let me give you a little bit of perspective of about what's going on. And I collected the data from this. For 40 years, TxDOT was not giving San Antonio a good shot at some of this money. We've always been underfunded. Houston has gotten more. Dallas has gotten more. Austin has gotten more. Fort Worth has gotten more. And we're the second largest city in Texas in the traffic congestion to show for it. We've always gotten the least amount of money from TxDOT to build new roads and to maintain our roads. So you're finally seeing that construction started. We just finished 281, that's done. I-10 is under construction. You got the elevated roadway over 35. You got 1604 being expanded. So those are the major projects going on right now. So they're all going on at the same time, because I guess TxDOT is trying to catch San Antonio up a little bit to all these other cities that have been getting the lion's share of the money year after year after year. So what does that mean? Yeah, there's a lot of construction going on, and the phasing is what's hurting us right now. And the businesses that are surrounding these large construction projects are absolutely being hurt because of what's going on. And the TxDOT did not do a very good job on coordinating with surrounding businesses that are going to be affected on their daily operation. And that is TxDOT's fault. Now, on the inner roads, I was very, very vocal about that when I was on council. Whenever the city would go in and redo a road or whatever on a major roadway with a lot of, especially small businesses on them, we caused the shutdown of small businesses because people couldn't get to them. So we set up a fund here in San Antonio that is supposed to help with the advertising, road rerouting, and that kind of thing to keep these businesses open. So we would, of course, continue to do that on city streets, on these major highways like on 1604. That's TxDOT, and they should be held accountable for that. And Mr. Bruce Bugg, who is over TxDOT, he's from San Antonio. So I'm sure he would just love to answer those kind of questions about, what TxDOT is doing to help these businesses that are being affected by that construction.
Yeah, that construction is really bad. And they'll just do it,
Yeah,
out of nowhere. Just like,
they'll shut a huge road down for a weekend or whatever, with little to no notification. All of a sudden, it just happens.
I learned you have to get on X to see, because I never seen it anywhere else, and I was like, okay, they finally give a little bit of warning, but it's really bad. One of the things with that is why did San Antonio get just such a little piece of the pie with the TxDOT situation that you were talking about?
I'm going to be brutally honest with you here. It's because we've had weak legislators here from San Antonio that didn't carry the water. Year after year after year, these other areas were getting the lion's share of the project money because their legislators were 100% involved in working with TxDOT to move their priorities up the ladder to get their funding. San Antonio has not done that. I went up there one year to testify in front of the committee. You know how many legislators we had there? Zero were there. And we had Houston and Dallas. Those legislators were there because they know how to work the system and they know how to get the money into those areas. That's where we've fallen flat over the years. And when I get to be mayor, that is going to turn around because I'm going to call them out. I'm going to call them out saying, hey, Kate, when was the last time you went to lobby for San Antonio? When did you go in talking to Mr. Bugg to show what our requirements are here in San Antonio? When's the last time you did that? And we got a lot of legislators around San Antonio here, and we elect them time and time and time again. But in my opinion, they're not helping us here when it comes to transportation.
Yeah, so weak legislators.
Yep.
Thanks for being brutally honest. That is definitely an issue. If we're just sitting on our hands while everybody else is getting paid for better roads, that's definitely something we need to address right away.
Yep.
But so a lot of things that you want to take care of the debt. You want to. How are you gonna take care of the homeless situation with like these encampments? One thing that, as a resident of this city, and I was born and raised here, I do not want San Antonio to turn into Austin. That's one of my biggest concerns. I know for a while they were even trying to get rid of the castle rule, which is insane to me. And I know when I go to Austin, I see all those homeless encampments, and it's just not a good look for the city. What do you plan to do about those kind of things? Because I've even heard cops say, well, we can't do nothing because then we got to transport them to the jail with all the junk that they have with them. So we just let them be. I don't think that's a good way to go forward. And what could we possibly do to kind of not turn into Austin and look that trashy? I mean, to be honest, yeah, it just looks really trashy and looks
Yeah.
dangerous.
When I was on council, we the answer was, well, we need more money. We need more money. But they
Of
never
course.
said how much money are we spending a year? I was the first councilman to ask that question. How much are we spending a year on the homeless problem? And back then, it was right at $80 million
God.
a year for less than, it was about 2,600 people at that time. Do the math on that. Man, let's just write them all a $25,000 check and send them on their merry way. So,
Can you say that one more time? How much money for and how many people?
well, it's
80
at
million?
the time $80 million for about 2,600 people.
God. What we could have done with that money?
Yeah, exactly. And since then, that number has grown. We're right at $100 million a year now, and the homeless number has grown. Oh, wow! Get that it hadn't gone down, and we're spending that much money a year. Well, let me tell you why. It's because we're spending a lot of that money on, it's both direct and indirect funding. We're spending a lot of that money on salaries and what have you of all these different agencies that are trying to take care of the homeless. We need to get out of that business here at the city and give that back to the nonprofits, the faith-based organizations, and that kind of thing, and get it out of the city's business. We're not reducing the number, and that's a key point that I want to make sure everybody understands. We're spending every year more and more money, but guess what's happening? The number of homeless is going up and up and up. And would you think that a homeless person in Austin or Houston or Dallas heard, wow, they're giving away a lot of free stuff in San Antonio. Let's go to San Antonio. Let's settle in over there and get a bunch of their free stuff. That's what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. So we need to streamline this system. We need to, again, push more of this on the faith base and nonprofits out there in the city, get out of that business. About the only thing that we should be doing is going around cleaning up these encampments where they've set up shop and they've got tents and filth and garbage all over the place. We got to get those things cleaned up and keep moving them around. The more you bug these people, the more they're going to leave because they don't like to set up camp and have it torn down and set up camp and have it torn down and just keep it moving. I think eventually they would get tired of it and move away. But that's the amount of money that we're spending right now, right at $100 million a year for 3,200 people. And to me, it's insane. We should not be spending that much money, but we are. And a lot of that is social programs and on and on and on that we're spending on manpower, bureaucracies, and what have you to manage that system. So we need to get out of it. And the answer is not more money.
Yeah, the answer is never more money. I mean, there's some things, but the answer to every progressive is just throw money at it. Like you just keep throwing money at it, it'll fix itself. We've seen that with the school. We've seen that with just city stuff. It never works out. I know some of the major concerns before I let you go. I know for me, it's the legal immigration problem. It's the debt problem, the housing problem, and I wanted just to touch on those real quick. The housing problem. I mean, in the area I'm in, which was by Edison High School, houses are like 250, 300,000. Most people can't afford anything no more. Crime is up. So I'm glad you're taking time to talk to us.
Sure. Well, just real quick about the housing. I talked about homelessness and crime. We got 300 vacant authorizations right now. We need to fund those, get those people on board, train them, and get them into the neighborhoods. And we need more patrols in the neighborhoods. I mean, we're lacking sorely, and that's what's allowing these criminals to go around doing this crime wave that we're going through right now. If we had more patrols in the neighborhoods, it would reduce the crime crime rate a lot. So we need to fund them, get them on board, train them, and get them out into the neighborhoods to be more proactive instead of being reactive, just answering calls once a crime has been made. Get out there and be proactive, patrol the neighborhoods, and keep the bad guys out. So that's what the approach that I will take. I will get those 300 officers on board and out into the neighborhoods. As far as the housing goes, look, the housing market is constrained right now. We've got less than a 3 month supply of housing. We should have anywhere from around 9 months is a good average of supply, housing supply. And what happens if you have a good supply of things? It gets cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Supply and demand. Right now it's constrained, so the housing prices are very high because we don't have a lot of inventory. We need to take away some of these city ordinances. In fact, did you know that the first $25,000 of a house is because of city ordinances? What we're telling them they have to put in these houses before they even break ground. We add $25,000. If you took that $25,000 off, it would get more reasonable, right? But that's the ordinances that this city has passed in order for them to build a house nowadays. So we need to unshackle the construction industry, let them do their business, get more inventory on hand to reduce the prices of housing here. Affordable housing is an issue, but we're never going to get there from here if we continue to beat them over the head saying, hey, we want you to do this, or you have to do this and that adds to the cost of a house.
That sounds like a reasonable thing to do. Yeah, for sure. Get some of that red tape out. As you know,
yes.
Bureaucracies, they never shrink. They just keep growing in size over and over.
They keep growing all the time, the time. And let me tell you, I've heard all kind of horror stories about the city inspections and the processes people have to do to get something done. It's ridiculous. That all needs to be reworked and made a lot simpler, which means it would be cheaper.
Yes, that definitely. And especially, you have more construction companies, more competition. I mean, things will manage itself. A lot of the problems, from what I hear, a lot of critics say, a lot of these people running for mayor, they're not economists. Like, they don't know how the economy works. A lot of them.
No, they don't. It's amazing. We're gonna educate more. The city is not in the education business. That's the school districts. They said, well, we're gonna provide more medical services. The city does not build hospitals. We shouldn't be providing medical services. That's done by the county. And man, I tell you what, we pay the county a lot of money to run our hospitals and medical services from the county. And yet we're duplicating here in the city of what the county is already doing. So it's just double paying. I mean, there's so many areas that we could see about combining with the county. Parks, we got county parks and city parks next to each other. We got libraries, county libraries and city libraries next to each other. Why is that? Why do we have to have separate facilities within the same area? Combine them all. How about if we combine the governments of the county and the city? Wow. Would that save us some money? Absolutely it would. Of course, nobody wants to talk about that because that's breaking down bureaucracies, and somebody might be without a job in that deal. But it's just so many things that we could do better and cheaper here in this area.
Yeah, that's what the left really has a good grasp on is they'll say, you're getting people out of a job, but it's like, these people are making your life hell, though. Like, the bureaucrats are for making your life more difficult, spending more money, and they're just gonna, like we said, they're just gonna continue to grow and expand and get more authoritarian with their rules and giving everybody more money. So I'm all for getting rid of bureaucrats like that are just sucking at the teat of the city and draining it for everything that it has. I totally agree with you there. But the housing situation is, I think a lot of it too is, a lot of people are paying from California coming out here and paying a lot more money. So the market.
Well, people in California love it here in San
Yeah.
Antonio. That's where they're coming here because housing is cheap here to them. Them paying $1 million over there in California. Here it's costing $250,000. So sell that $1 million house, buy a $250,000, pocket the rest of it, and you can live a life of Riley there.
Unfortunately, they keep bringing their politics with them, though, which is not.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Californians. I used to live in San Diego, but it's like, man, you can't. And this was years ago before they went crazy with Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
They a lot of people, they'll come out here and say, "Oh, in California we did. In California we did. Okay, well, go back. if you like it that much, go back. Like, what? This is the way we do it in Texas, man." And
absolutely.
And we're almost like foreign. These Hispanic conservatives to them, they're like, "But you're Mexican American," and it's like, yeah. There's a lot of us out there. You should actually talk. You should talk to us. There's a lot of Hispanic conservatives, man. And I want to, like I said, I want to be here to kind of utilize that, and I want to be, use people like us, like, so we could get the word across. Because I know I'm looking at the mayoral debate. My mom's already asking me, my cousin, like some of my cousins, like, "Hey, who are you voting for?" And I want to give them a conservative person to vote for because I want to like go forward and things ain't working on the other side as we see the city's just getting more dangerous, more in debt. It used to be like a friendly city, right? That's what everybody knew San Antonio as. Like it's a little big city, right? And
right. And I'm all for keeping it. I hear this over all the time. Keep San Antonio, San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%. There's a smart way to grow. There's a smart way to do those things, but a lot of people don't have that common sense on how to make that work.
Yeah, and we always say like, don't Austin up San Antonio.
Yeah,
and it's like I used to like Austin, but I mean, it's fun city, but it's like, oh man, it's gotten out of control.
Yeah, and you mentioned the homelessness there in Austin.
It's
Did
bad.
you know that we have now surpassed Austin in the total number of homeless people?
That is
we got a bigger population, but we're following their exact footsteps in how this population has grown and the services that we're offering. It's just enabling that population to get bigger here in San Antonio.
Oh, for sure, it's enabling. And when you have 9 out of 10, they always love to talk about diversity, but they never talk about diversity of thought. It's only we need a trans woman, we need a black, a white, a Mexican. Like it's like, okay, why don't we have like all y'all think the same though? There's no diversity in that whole.
Exactly.
You need diversity of thought, and like we said, somebody told me a really good quote earlier: "A tyranny of the minority," and that's what we're looking at. It's a minority group of people, and then they say, "Well, this is the voice of San Antonio." But only 10% of the people are voting, so it's not really the voice.
That's right.
You're not really reaching people.
You hit the nail on the head right there. It's just it's these special interest groups that are really driving these elections, and that's why we've gotten off course because of that reality is that this small percentage of people are getting the wrong people elected here to San Antonio.
The small percentage are the loudest, and
yes.
And it doesn't help when the news is on that side as well.
Right.
I hope we could stay in contact. I would like to get. I had one last question. Do you think you're running with the law will affect your electability? Do you think that'll affect it, or do you think a lot of people are forgiving at this point with the web?
No, I've been very outspoken about this. I've been very open about it, and what I say is, I'm trying to be very vocal about it to at least convince one other person out there not to make the same mistake I made. San Antonio has a problem, the drinking and driving problem. And, I've been through the system, and I see some areas that can be improved on, and I'll work with the legal system to see about making improvements to that. But overall, that is out there. But what I have found, for the most part, I would say the majority of people have been very forgiving and compassionate, and recognize what I have done, and to get past that whole incident And they also recognize the great things that I did while I was on council here for San Antonio. And I mentioned the 3 things earlier, plus all the good things I did here at District 10. So I think people recognize all that and say, he's human. He makes mistakes just like everybody else. There's nobody perfect. And let's give him another chance. So I have a lot of backers out there across the city with that same attitude. And don't ever underestimate Clayton Perry.
I have seen that you've been very vocal about it, so you're not hiding from the whole
No.
and all that, and you've asked for forgiveness. So I will say that you are. Every interview I see, they ask you. So I don't really want to go into the whole thing. More just like, do you think it's going to affect your electability? But definitely, I guess if you still have a lot of supporters, that'll help. I know I'm gonna look more into it, and I really want to. I know for sure I'm not going to vote for any progressive. I know the one that stood out to me, like Manny. Oh my God, he just flip flopped on everything, and I was like, I was like, is he conservative? Is he liberal? I couldn't even tell because he was like,
he's about as far left as you can get.
Yeah, I figured that, but then he started saying, I'm going to pressure the DAs to like really put these people in. I was like, okay, that's not what a liberal says. But and then I was like, you could just tell he was a straight politician. Like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I know.
He's a lawyer.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
Oh my God, that makes it even worse.
Yeah.
And I saw, I think, what is his name? There's one more conservative, right, running with you. Is that
Well,
correct?
there's like 5 that they call themselves conservative. I like to point to my record. I think I'm the most conservative person out there in the field. But yeah, there's 5 overall. I think that says they're conservative.
Okay, because everybody, the people I know and stuff I do, we're in line with like what President Trump is doing. So would you consider yourself in line with a lot of stuff Trump's doing?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I need to hear. That's what I need to hear. Because if somebody tells me they're against it and they're gonna fight them for every little thing, I'm just not a fan of. I'm for shrinking the government. I'm for getting illegals out of the country, especially the criminals. A lot of, like we said, straightening up this crime issue. The culture is something we need to fix. Like the culture is just like it's just out of control right now. I'm just trying to have a safe place for our families to grow.
Yeah, I'd like to say is nobody should be for throwing their tax dollars away, and nobody should be for wasting your tax dollars. And that's what I'm about, is let's spend our tax dollars wisely and give everybody a good return on their investment. What do you really want from this city? And not all these shiny things that come up. And I point to this thing, the city council here recently passed this, that they're going to spend $6 billion for bike lanes all over town. $6 billion. Does that make sense in San Antonio, Texas? I drive around downtown and there's a lot of bike lanes already. And I have yet to see a bicycle on any of those lanes.
And it's hot as hell here.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a heat stroke.
Who's going to ride their bicycle downtown to go to work?
Yeah, that is silly. I agree with you. It's like when you have I have a family. I'm a family man. So yeah, when you're in debt, you don't just keep spending more money. You're gonna have to like get your finances together, get a good grip on it, and go from there and try to reduce the debt as much as possible. And you say, have a good investment on whatever we're spending money on. It better make us more money back.
Yeah,
that's what we want. We want the city to get better, and we want it to be business minded. We need some business minded people in there to kind of get things rolling and get us in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I will keep in contact with you. Hopefully we get some votes your way. I want to talk to you a little bit more and before deciding ultimately. But I definitely right on the right track for me. As in, you answered me right away. You're willing to talk, take time out of your day to do these things. So I really want to. Thank you for all that, for the opportunity and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully we can keep in contact and go from there and make San Antonio a better city and get out of that.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And I want to be a part of that. I have the leadership skills to do that and experience, and I'm ready.
Well, that's what I like to hear. So, let's just go ahead and wrap it up. This is Clayton Perry. If you have any questions, he's on Facebook. Are you on X as well?
Yes, I got all that social media stuff out there, Facebook, so Instagram, Twitter, uh,
Everything.
X, and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure to link it to the video, and y'all go check him out, see what he's about, see if he's your right candidate, and let's try to get San Antonio to turn it. Let's at least turn it purple because it's deep blue right now. It's at least
Yeah.
I want to turn it red, but let's at least get it. It's baby steps, right?
Hey,
Um,
I agree.
and to get there. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right, y'all too.